9 light novel series are making their debut in the month of September. In this video, I'm going to be talking about them. Hello everybody and welcome to this monthly video where I take a look at the light novel series that are making their debut, this being for the month of September of 2020. I'm Justus and of course on this channel I cover all things light novels, news, reviews, and this is also the home of the Light Novel Podcast. So if you love light novels or maybe you're just starting to get interested in them, looking for a series that you might just enjoy, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future light novel content. So like I said at the start, there's 9 series making their debut this month, 6 of them from J Novel Club. So they've got a whole bunch of new stuff coming out. 2 of them from Yen On, although one of them is a spin-off. And then finally, we get a digital advance release from 7 Seas. Now, if you want to see all of the light novels that are releasing in the month of September and even in months beyond that, I do have links to EnglishLightNovels.com in the description where you can go and check all of that out. So our first brand new release is coming out September 8th, and this is one from J Novel Club, and it's actually the only one that isn't an isekai or a fantasy, and that is Holmes of Kyoto. Half a year after moving to Kyoto, high school girl Aoi Mashiro brings her late grandfather's old scrolls to Kura, an antique store nestled in Kyoto's Teremachi Sanjo shopping arcade, for an appraisal. One thing leads to another, and she winds up working there part-time. The manager's son, Kiyotaka Yagashira, nicknamed the Holmes of Kyoto, is uncannily perceptive, and together they solve strange cases relating to the antiques brought to them by their clients. Now this is being released through the J Novel Heart imprint, so a bit more of a slightly romance, slice of life, but also kind of that whole mystery aspect. There's been a couple of series like this in Japan that we really haven't gotten in English. I know there was one, I can't remember the title of it, but it's a bookstore that deals in like antique books, and it is almost exactly the same idea. Now, my wife actually watched the anime of this one and enjoyed it a lot, and so if you're looking for something that's a little bit different, obviously, that's maybe more of a actual real-world setting, well, honestly, this is the only thing you've got this month that's coming out like that, so definitely worth a check out. On the next day, on September 9th, we get another J Novel Club title. This one is Black Summoner. Waking up in a strange new place, with no memory of his past life, Kelvin learns that he's bartered away those very memories in exchange for powerful new abilities during his recent transmigration. Heading out into a whole new world as a summoner, with his first follower being the very goddess who brought him over, Kelvin begins his new life as an adventurer, and isn't long before he discovers his hidden disposition as a battle junkie. From the Black Knight of the ancient castle of evil spirits to the demon within the hidden cave of the sage, he revels in the fight against one formidable foe after another. Join this OP adventurer in an exhilarating and epic saga as he and his allies carve their way into the annals of history. So, it's an OP isekai where the guy just defeats bigger, badder enemies because he likes it? I mean, I guess if you're looking for something that is just like a straight ahead, like, kill the monsters, I imagine it probably has a harem aspect to it. I mean, if you dig that kind of like just pure action type series, this one sounds like it might not be a bad choice. Then on September 13th, also from J Novel Club, we get one that, honestly, I think this is one of the longest ones in terms of title. Well, there's another one that's a close second, but it is Wataru, the hot-blooded fighting teen, and his epic adventures after stopping a truck with his bare hands. I'm really assuming this one's just gotta be as corny as it sounds, and that's the whole appeal. I really hope so. It's a wonderful day for Wataru Ito, high school student, master martial artist, honorable and humble teenager, and all around awesome guy. During his daily run to school, he happened to get hit by a large truck barreling around a corner. Not that this is the kind of event that would be the end of the likes of Wataru, of course, but when a truck runs into you, you get sent to another world. That's just the way things are sometimes. Still, Wataru's not about to take this kind of thing lying down. The first thing he sets out to do is find who's the toughest hombre in this land and go up against the greatest challenges this new world has to offer. Oh, and the greatest fighter in this place also happens to be the demon lord who is kidnapping people all across the kingdom in an attempt to wipe out humanity? Even better! Wataru's main interest is in facing a tough battle. Saving the world in the process is just icing on the cake. So, so this is clearly a title not to be taken seriously. If I recall, I think there's only 3 volumes in this. Somebody was telling me that literally the title is true. He stops the truck with his own 2 hands. He does not actually get killed by the truck or hit by the truck. He stops the truck. But then, out of respect for the fact that the truck had intended to send him to another world, he accepts that this is what he should do, and that's why he gets isekai'd. So you can kind of tell right from the get-go, this is not a serious book. This is one that's just supposed to be, I think, quite zany and over the top and ridiculous. I think the only way to really enjoy this one is to probably go in there thinking that ahead of time. If the title didn't make it obvious right from the start. On September 15th, also from J Novel Club, I'm going to say that a few more times, we have Mapping, the trash tier skill that got me into a top tier party. Note Athlon was really looking forward to becoming an adventurer with his best friend and crush, Mia. That is, until he drew Mapping, a rare skill with practically no purpose. In other words, it's trash. This kicks off a vicious spiral for Note, who plummets further and further into the depths of self-loathing despair when Mia leaves him. He now spends his days drinking away his earnings, wondering how things might have been different if only he'd pulled a better skill. But little does he know his trash tier skill is about to score him an invite to a top tier adventuring party. Note's now determined to find his way through life and a dungeon in order to make something of himself. So once again, a fantasy title with a main character with a skill that is supposedly garbage that becomes uber important, that gets him somewhere in life. I think, was it Mirage maybe? I think was talking about this on the podcast. But basically the idea is that this skill is not really a great skill, except for in dungeons, where apparently the typical skill that allows people to have even better mapping than mapping. In any case, it's their skill is useless, whereas in a dungeon, mapping, the skill that Note has, is actually super useful and can even note where enemies are and stuff. So this is kind of the idea. I don't know whether this is going to be one of those things where he also becomes like a super great warrior or something like that. I kind of hope that he just is totally a support role and that all the heavy lifting is done by other people. So it's not quite like he becomes OP. It's just that he's got a useful skill that helps the stronger people out. I think I would prefer it if it takes that route, but I'm not too sure. Well, I guess we're going to have to see as of September 15th. On September 21st, we have another J Novel Club title. This one, My Instant Death Ability is so overpowered, no one in this other world stands a chance against me. Yeah, this is the competitor with Wataru for one of the longest titles. Awakening to absolute chaos and carnage while on a school trip, Yogiri Takato discovers that everyone in his class has been transported to another world. He had somehow managed to sleep through the entire ordeal himself, missing out on the gift, powers bestowed upon the others by a mysterious sage who appeared to transport them. Even worse, he and another classmate were ruthlessly abandoned by their friends, left as bait to distract a nearby dragon. Although not terribly bothered by the thought of dying, he reluctantly decides to protect his lone companion. After all, a lowly level 1000 monster doesn't stand a chance against his secret power to invoke instant death with a single thought. If he can stay awake long enough to bother using it, that is. So, this one is actually by an author of another series that was one of J-Novel's earlier titles, which was My Big Sister Lives in a Fantasy World, which was sort of a comedy series. It was sort of this idea where the main character's sister seemed to be like a total chuny, but in reality, she actually was right about all the weird and crazy things that exist in the world. And of course, her brother gets embroiled in it, and anyway, it was actually the first I only read the first volume, which is kind of too bad. It wasn't that long a series, but it was definitely quirky and cute in its own way. This one sounds kind of similar. I think it was probably Mirage. Mirage usually reads all the pre-pubs and stuff on J-Novel's website, but basically, like, this guy is literally so powerful. He could look at the world and tell it to die, and the world would die. So, yeah, I don't know where do you go with that? I'm halfway tempted to read this one just because I wonder how you actually make a character like that interesting. How do you... what do you do? I mean, about the only thing I can think of is that skill is so overpowered that if he actually needed to beat someone but not kill them, he'd be in trouble, because if that's his only skill, there's really nothing he can do. So, I don't know. Like I said, I'm curious to check it out, just even to figure out what they do with a character with such a ridiculously OP power. On September 22nd, we get the 2 titles from Yen On. I'll do the spin-off one first because, it's not technically a new series, but, it's a kind of a new spin-off, so I'll mention it anyway. And it's funny because this is actually a spin-off of a spin-off. So, of course, most of you are probably familiar with Konosuba, God's Blessing on This Wonderful World. Then, of course, it had a spin-off that featured Megumin called Konosuba, An Explosion on This Wonderful World. Well, this one is now a spin-off of the Megumin spin-off, which is Konosuba, An Explosion on This Wonderful World bonus story. The right magic words can stir a person's soul. For Megumin, these words are vigilante justice. Join everyone's favorite one-trick wizard, as well as Iris the Headstrong, Cecily the Problematic, and Union. Oh, poor Union. She's always getting dragged into stuff. As they get a taste of the righteous bandit lifestyle. For the sake of justice, there's no line I won't cross. No criminal act I won't commit. It's Konosuba. If you know Konosuba, you know what you're going to get from this one. If you haven't read Konosuba, this one's useless to you because it's going to involve a whole bunch of characters and stuff that you have no idea who they are. So, clearly, if you like Konosuba, pick this one up. If you haven't read Konosuba, what the hell's wrong with you? Go read Konosuba. It's actually really funny. Next up from Yen On, and this one is actually a brand new series, and that is Banished from the Hero's Party. I decided to live a quiet life in the countryside. Red was born with incredible powers, and he seemed like the perfect candidate to join the front lines in the fight to save the world. But before he could, he was told this wasn't where he belonged. Instead, he finds his destiny in an apothecary. So again, it's one of those light novel series about a person that decides to live a slow life. As I understand it, I believe that this makes it sound like he was just about to start and they were like, nah. But when this one, it's been out in Japan for a while, obviously, and I covered it a little bit when I used to do the top 10 in Japan. And if I recall, the idea is that he's actually the brother of the hero, the actual hero. And he does adventure with the hero's party for a while, but they start leveling up to a point that he no longer reaches. And so that's why he gets kicked out, because he can no longer basically hold his own. That was the impression I was given by other English translations of the Japanese summary. Again, that might not be exactly right. Everything kind of, sometimes you can't trust what Google Translate tells you. Sometimes. Anyway, so that's what this one is. So certainly the whole, we seem to be getting more and more of these, that sort of magically gifted person opening up a shop kind of thing. I know a lot of people seem to really like this one, and we're looking forward to this one, so definitely something I'll probably check out. I'm kind of liking the whole slow life fantasy light novel thing. On September 24th, and this one is actually from Seven Seas. This is a digital advanced release. The print release is coming out, I believe, in like about another month and a half, 2 months from now. This one is I'm in Love with the Villainess. Dear arch nemesis, won't you be mine? Ordinary office worker Ohashi Rei wakes up in the body of the protagonist of her favorite Otome game, Revolution. To her delight, the first person to greet her is also her favorite character, Claire Francois, the main antagonist of the story. Now, Ray is determined to romance Claire instead of the game's male leads. But how will her villainous lady love react to this new courtship? So yes, it is a Yuri title, and it's a Otome game reincarnation title, but unlike so many of the other Otome game ones, she is the protagonist, and unlike, well, there's actually a new one coming from J-Novel Club that's sort of similar to this. But up until this point, we haven't had the protagonist just kind of forsake all of the male leads and say, you know what, that villainous character, that's where I'm going. It looks super cute, honestly. There's only, I believe, 2 volumes to it. I'm pretty sure that someone said that on the Naro website there are more than just the 2 printed volumes, but as far as I know, there's only these 2 volumes out in Japan. Maybe that is changing. It's been probably a couple months since I last looked, but that was sort of where we were at when the book was announced. So who knows? Maybe we'll see more of it, especially if it does really well in North America. Who knows? And for our final release of September, this one coming on the 26th, and this one from J-Novel Club. So they start the month and they finish the month. And this one is, again, a J-Novel Heart imprint title, so a bit more of a romance, female-centric character. The Sorcerers Receptionist. In a world of everyday magic, Nanali has always dreamed of becoming a receptionist at the prestigious Sorcerers Guild. To achieve her goal, she needs to attend a magic school full of princes and the daughters of nobles. Determined to prove that a commoner can be the number 1 student, she must compete with Rockman, the son of a duke. When she graduates, she lands her dream job, and they go their separate ways. Nanali enjoys spending each day alongside her familiar Lala and her kind co-workers, but it seems that fate won't let her escape her entanglement with Rockman that early. So yes, it's we were competition at school, and now we're adults, and we shall meet again, and our paths shall cross, and we shall fall in love. Maybe. We'll see how that goes. I'm the only thing that I'm a little kind of perturbed about this. I wouldn't say perturbed. I mean, it does, but does anybody really aspire to be a receptionist? Like, I don't know. I kind of, I kind of would be more behind her journey if she had aspired to be like the top mage with her own receptionist. And then if Rockman had become her receptionist, that would have been, well, but then that's like workplace harassment, so never mind. Okay, never mind, forget that idea. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, somehow, I kind of find it funny that we have so many isekais where we have basically office workers, receptionists and stuff, just like dying from overwork, trying to go to an isekai world with magic so they can take things easy, and here we have a fantasy world with magic and she wants to be a receptionist. I don't know. I just find it kind of funny. Maybe that's just me. What are your thoughts? Feel free to throw those in the comments down below. In this video, I want to say a special thanks to Mitchell Von Riesen, Argonaut, Kyle Block, and Yun for their support on Patreon, as well as the support of all my patrons who help me to keep this channel running, help me to pay for additional hosting so that the Light Novel Podcast can be in as many places as possible, and to help support other projects such as EnglishLightNovels.com and the hopefully upcoming light novel database relaunch that we're working on, but it's taken longer than any of us really thought. But it's coming. We're working on it. In any case, my patrons are the ones who help me keep it all going and give me that extra kick when I'm feeling a little burned out, so thank you to all of them for their support. So those are all the light novels that are releasing in the month of September of 2020. Again, if you want to check out all of the light novels that are releasing this month and in months ahead, head on over to EnglishLightNovels.com. We have a pre-orders page there where you can see all of the light novel releases. I try to keep it updated as much as possible. I currently have releases listed all the way into June of 2021 that we know of. So yeah, it's a great place to check out and plan out what you want to buy down the road. So of these 9 series, which ones are you most looking forward to? Which ones are your must-buys? Which are of your kind of on the fence, but I think I might pick it up? Let me know in the comments down below. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining me in this video. I'll have a review video coming up very soon. I hope to see you in that one. Until then, bye-bye for now.